All right, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Deal Champs. Let's go.
Episode 3. Let's
Yes,
go,
sir.
baby.
I'm excited.
Man, we got a good topic today. We got a good topic today because we're getting into some X's and O's type stuff. I know we've been talking about some of the news, and I like that. I like kind of sprinkling and mixing it up. We can't always talk about X's and O's because there's only so many X's and so many O's. So, but it's nice. It's nice to bring that into the mix. So, yeah.
Let's start off. Well, first, let's start off. If you are on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. If you're listening to it on a podcast, go give us a 5-star review. We want to give you as much free content and value as possible. All we ask for in exchange is that you go hit that subscribe button.
That's right.
Yep. And
Share
that
and
reminded
support.
me.
Yeah.
That reminded me. Thanks for saying that, Strat. So, guys, Deal Champs podcast is all about bringing people together and highlighting the good work, the deals that people are doing. And our whole mission and goal is to connect with as many people as possible. So we're going on a tour right now. We're going across the nation, starting in California, and we're speaking to different meetups. We're tapping into different audiences. So if you guys have a deal and you're watching this right now, we're going to post in the chats after this, the links to where you can submit your deal to be highlighted on the Deal Champs podcast. Now, it has to be a deal that you've closed, money in the bank, and something that we can talk about. So we'd love to have you on. We'd love to have as many people submit their deals. And like you said, guys, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We'd love the support. That'll help us as we grow.
And then if you are watching live, please leave us a comment, your name, and where you're from. We love that interaction, guys. It fuels the podcast, makes everything a lot better. That's the whole reason we decided to do it live, too, so we can get interaction from the community.
Yeah, give us some engagement. Let us know what you guys are thinking about these topics, about the news topics that we're talking about. We want your feedback so we can give you guys as much value as possible. So, good-looking group. I see comment number 1. I like it. It's a good-looking group. I would agree with whoever that Facebook user is. Thank you for the love and support, whoever you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. But we even need to do our introduction real quick.
My
name's Strat Daddy. I own a call center, and I wholesale. We own some self-storage, and then we have an affiliate marketing company. What about you? One of you two. Let's do our quick intros. We can't forget those two for the new listeners.
We got to do intros.
Yeah, I'll go. This is Jason Pritchard. Home base for us is Central California. Fresno is our home market, but we're doing deals basically up and down the state. Predominantly right now, fix and flip, but we do some wholesale, own some rental properties, a little bit of anything when it comes to value-add real estate investing.
Awesome. What's up, guys? Dean Rogers. I live in San Diego now, but still invest in Central California where I grew up. We've got a 7-figure business doing wholesales, flips, adding to our rental portfolio. And so, man, we're all about doing deals with people and growing. So look forward to connecting with more people for sure.
I love it. Bro, Boise, Idaho. Let's go.
I know,
Chris,
right?
what's up, man?
Chris Coleman from Boise. Eduardo from Fresno. Great to have you guys. Thanks for all the value you guys drop on all the time. Hell yeah.
Eduardo's
I like this one. My name is Michael Butler. Just a scroll trying to find a nut.
That's it.
Hell yeah. Well, you guys, thank you guys so much for the support. Keep dropping where you're from. If you have any questions or comments, now's the time. I know we were talking about this. Dean lives a long ways away. Me and Jason are super busy all the time, and so we can't do lunch with everybody. And so as you do have questions about these things, bro, drop them in here because we can answer them all. We can get them answered. And now is the time. And you get, this is essentially lunch with us. We may not get to see your face, but you're going to be able to ask whatever questions you have about the space. We'll be able to get those things answered.
Yep.
All right. So today's topic, cold calling, how to maximize your ROI with cold calling. We're going to cover a couple different things, go through a service, use your own, and then best practices. And I mean, I could talk about this for hours on end. I just talk.
Yeah,
about
this is like right up your alley, dude. I think all of us are really doing well with cold calling right now in different areas. So, man, yeah, this is going to be a good topic for a lot of different reasons. I'm excited.
What's the first thing we got, Jason, as far as topic lines? Or was
best
it,
list to get started with.
Start from the beginning. Step number one, right? You can't start cold calling unless you have a good list. So let's start there, man, and open it up. What do you guys think? I have my ideas as far as like the lists that have the highest ROI for us. But when you're calling, right, you can't start with more of like a niche list, something smaller, right? Because you're going to burn that data up really quick. So why don't we talk through maybe some of the best ones that investors can start with? What do you guys think?
What's up, let's go. What's going on, J-Rod?
Yeah, so here's my personal opinion, because everyone's got a different experience with this. You can go big list and pound the phones and work on volume. And at the end of the day, cold calling is a numbers game, right? Generally speaking. Personally speaking, and this goes against what you guys might say, which is that's almost better for the conversation. I personally like to go with a smaller list because I want to focus on potentially people that are being neglected because of the fact that you can't get a hold of them, right? You're trying to cold call. You've got a big list. You're pushing through the data. You're working the numbers. You're going for volume. I mean, our company is based on volume. I should be shouting from the mountaintops volume as well. But from a personal preference, if I'm just getting started, I might not even have the funds to go purchase a list. I might not have the funds to get a dialer, right? A dialer is $150 a month or so. I might not even have the funds for that. So me personally, my opinion, and I tested this out with my brother-in-law, is focusing on a niche set of data and taking the time and effort to work that data to its full potential. Because a lot of that data, you're not going to actually get results from your everyday skip tracing, and you're just going to go to the next list to get more data. And so my argument would be, if you spend more time working on the data, and especially the data that is not readily available, that requires you to go do research and maybe go find the person off of Facebook. Maybe you, God forbid, have to go knock their door, the neighbor's door. Like, you got to get your hands a little bit dirty to go find this person. You might have to go knock on their mailing address that's 3 hours away. Like, those are the deals that are sometimes the juiciest because they're untouched. No one's really made contact with them because no one's made the effort. So from my personal experience, because I've done both volume and niche, for the person getting started out, I would encourage them to focus more on that niche. Now, cold calling come in all flavors. There's just the traditional generic cold calling of get a list, put it in a dialer, and pound the phones. And there's also cold calling concept of, I drove by a house, I drove for dollars, and now I'm going to cold call that person because I don't have their number. I have no relationship. Technically, that's a cold call. It's just cold calling you're driving for dollars rather than sending a mail or a text message. So I like to get the person who's getting started out. I'd prefer that person to get their hands dirty and go after that. Now, if you have a little bit more funds, I'd be paying money to have my phone ring, right? So that's my opinion and my personal experience.
I'll go the opposite end of that argument. So I feel like with calling, whether you're new or seasoned, but I think especially if you're new, you need a lot of reps. You need a lot of practice.
Bro,
and I think
you need to get in the gym.
You need to get in there and just jump in and start taking your licks from the beginning, man. And I think, at my opinion, is yes, you can start with no dialer. Yes, you can start with a smaller list. Yes, you can just start manually dialing and just kind of slog your way through it. But the reason why I like cold calling so much is that it's one of the most cost-effective ways to get started, because let's be real here, guys. Like, there's a lot of people that push the idea that you can make money in real estate with no money at all. And I think we've all probably had deals where we've made money with like little or no money out of our pocket, but that's not a sustainable way to have a business, right? And so I think for me, when you're looking at how do we set up direct to seller marketing, the reason why I like cold calling so much is you got the cost of a dialer, which Call Tools is $200, right? You got your initial cost of your data, which is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Then you got to get it skip traced. You've got to put in a little bit of like investment into the game to get started, guys, right? And so for me, I would say spend that money. And if you don't have that money, then you're not ready to start. Save up, make that initial investment, then get the tools that you need. And then while in Dean's example, that person is sitting there manually dialing, maybe lucky to make 100 phone calls in a day. You're talking to 200, 300, 400 people a day if you've got a dialer. You know what I'm saying? And so I think number one, step A would be get the right tools. And I personally think it makes sense to make the investment into those tools because you're going to get the reps that you need. And I would be a proponent of getting probably a bigger list. The list that I like, especially for cold calling, because it's the right kind of mix of size plus also motivated sellers, is an absentee owner list with equity, because you can get a good size list of absentee owners with equity. And even though there's a lot of people that are working those lists, we still get deals from there. Dean, I'm sure you guys still get a lot of people from those type of lists too. So I would say start there. Yeah. That would be what I would recommend if you're just getting started out.
I love Josh, and Josh, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but Mojo Dialer is the worst thing that an investor could be using right now unless you can actually rotate your numbers.
Josh is my boy. I love Josh too. Josh Hines, shout out to my investor field buddy. Yeah, no. Yeah. Mojo's, here's Hines. The thing, guys. Yeah, I mean, Mojo,
I will poke holes in Mojos when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mojo does have its issues, but I think, I mean, at the beginning, it's better than manually dialing. And if you can't spend the money on call tools, spend the money on something. So at least you're calling somebody and getting in front of more people. But I think from a list standpoint, I like the idea of going with a larger list and just having more data, getting more reps in. Strat, what do you think?
So the reason I say don't use Mojo is because Mojo cannot rotate your phone numbers. And if you can rotate your phone numbers, it gets really, really expensive. Right now, if you have an auto dialer per caller, you need to have at least 100 phone numbers per caller. With Mojo, it connects to your phone and then it spams it out. I started off on Mojo too, Josh. And I still burning it, but now Call Tools is more affordable than Mojo, and you can add more phone numbers. And so Call Tools makes more sense. And I used Mojo on the go getting started. Overall, the best list that does perform, no matter what anybody says, is just high equity. For our more seasoned people, like we have tons of clients, the dudes who can afford like Audantic data, 80/20 data, that stuff, it works really well. But again, there's only so much of it, bro. And so eventually you're going to call everybody. Like for my stuff, we had to go nationwide because we can't keep calling everybody in Fresno 6 times a day because we had so many trainees going.
Yeah.
And then if you are going to niche down, REI Sift is amazing if you really, really want to get into the weeds. And it's a good way if you want to put in a ton of effort for you to maximize those leads that nobody else can get a hold of. Right. So like, hey, nobody can find this person. You got to go in there, find them, go find their aunt, call their aunt, like, yo, what's going on with Aunt Betty? What's going on there? Oh, well, Aunt Betty died, right? And then you got to do all that research. That's how you can really maximize that. But I mean, bro, if you go drive on the east side of Fresno, California, I did it the other day and I found 3 things that should be deals. That entire fucking zip code of 93702 still needs to be flipped.
Yeah.
Right. And so like if you're just if you're starting over, bro, driving for dollars, and I think this goes into like one of our deal champs today. Bro, that driving for dollars list, that's what I had at the beginning. And my first deal came from driving for dollars that I sold to Jason.
Yep.
Right. And so I'd say it's a mixture of both. When you're first getting started, we always tell people, like, don't even go to some type of service. I agree with you, Jason. You need to build the skill set. If you can't cold call, you're for sure not going to be able to close. That's just the cold, hard truth.
Yep.
And
no, I agree. I think the reps are more important than anything, honestly, because the more practice that you guys get in, for me, it's the most efficient way to talk with sellers. Because if you think about texting or door knocking or all these other things, right, like it's just never going to be as efficient as getting on the phone, having 4, 5, 6 lines going at one time. And then every couple minutes, you're getting another person on the phone to practice your skill set, right? And so I think at the beginning, guys, it's about that. So I'm hearing you say, Strat, like, I think Dean was like niche list. I was probably bigger size list. You're saying cast as wide a net as possible. You're saying high equity without any absentee owner filter. Just
no, high equity absentee is awesome. So it should go like this. We have our niche list that we just beat up, right? Because we know those are really high. Those people are going to sell.
Yeah.
So those are our primary lists that we want to target, but we can't harass their phones forever. That's when we move into Jason's list, right? So it's a mixture of both as you hit a certain scale. But we can't just like, all right, unless you take your auto dialer down to a single line dialer, you take the full on REI Sift approach, and hey, we're calling a couple hundred dials a day, and we're just like getting in it, and we know we're only going to get 3 leads a week. but we're going to war with these 3 leads a week, and like we're actually having legitimate at bats, and it's going to be a longer time horizon for us to convert on those because they're messy deals.
So here's my argument. So I'm coming from the perspective of the person who's just starting out, right? We talked about some of the costs. If I'm getting my list together, I might spend a couple $1,000. Then I got to skip trace it. I'm spending another couple $100, right? And I've got my dialer. You don't know diddly squat at that time. Like, you don't know how to do it. And I get the argument of you got to get the reps in, which there's no question that you do. My point of you putting in some of that hustle work, right? And going after some niche lists is you have to get really resourceful on how to actually work that data and develop the skills as you're working through that. Not only just the actual phone skills, because those at the end of the day are ultimately the most important, but you could argue a close second of importance is getting in front of the right opportunities, and that can be through the data. Now, my approach now today is I want to spend more money and less time going after my leads, right? That's the whole reason why we started the internship program, which just started today. We had
shameless plug.
From 1 to 4 or so today, we had our training, and we've got 6 interns that are going after all of those hustle activities.
Damn, that's
They're going to be, there were all the hustle muscle stuff. So driving for dollars, knocking doors, pre-foreclosures, like calling absentee owners, calling realtors, calling wholesalers, all the stuff that everybody starting out should be doing that we're just flat out not doing is what the interns are going to be doing. So my argument today is I want to spend money, but for the person just getting started, you got to figure this out. And I would argue you got to go learn how to get in contact with people. If you can learn that skill, then when you do come across a driving for dollars lead, or you have someone send you a lead in the future when you've got your attracting deals from other people and they're saying, hey, I can't get a hold of somebody. Like, if you've already gone through all that, trying to find the seller's information, no problem, right? I got this tool, I got that tool. I know how to navigate this and get through to the seller and find out how to get a hold of them. Like, those aren't problems anymore because you learn the skills to do it. So the person who just grabs the dialer, just grabs the list and says, and how I'm going to get filthy rich and make a bunch of money, literally has no foundation to get started. So I'd argue you gotta get some bumps and bruises, skin your knee a little bit while you're trying to even make contact and get in the reps to make calls, because those skills will last you. I know when money was tight for me when I was getting started, like, I wanted my phone to ring and it wasn't. I had to pick up the phone. I had to research people. I had to figure stuff out. I had to get scrappy. And because of that, I know no matter what, I can figure out how to get stuff done because those early skills.
Yeah. There's a balance for me, because I think we've all kind of started that way. And if you guys don't have money, you don't necessarily need it to do what Dean's talking about, right? So I do feel like you can just jump in and get started. I think I heard you say this, Dean, and I know this is true of me. I stayed in because I was like bootstrapping it at the beginning, and I just made it happen at the beginning, and I did find success. I think it actually backfired on me a little bit because I stayed in that space a lot longer than I needed to, right? Like, I was like, all right, we just bootstrapped it. I did it without any money again. Let's try that again. And let's try that again, right?
For sure.
And I know this to be true, man. Like, it is. I think it can kind of hamstring you if you stay in that place too long. And I think whatever we pay for, we pay more attention to. And so I don't want anybody to kind of frivolously just throw money at this stuff without knowing what you're doing. But I do think if you treat it like a business from the beginning, instead of just kind of willing yourself there, right? And you set a budget and you say, okay, my monthly business expenses are going to be X, and I need to produce this much in order to pay for this many months worth of these expenses and revenue, right? And they start taking that approach from the beginning. I think they start treating it like a business first. So there's a couple different ways that you guys can go. No matter what, don't let this stuff get you started. I would like to see you guys start with the right tools, because it gets you that extra practice that you need. And that's what you need is a lot of practice at the beginning.
I think at the beginning, there is no excuse for you not to have an auto dialer. Time is the only thing you are not getting back.
Yep.
Ever. Right. And so you can go be like me and go donate some plasma. Bro, you can make like $600 your first month.
We're not talking about a lot of money here, dude, if we're being serious, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're being serious, right? Startup costs are $3,000 to $4,000, right? For the data, for skip tracing, and let's call it 3 to 4 months worth of your auto dialer. And then you can take that same muscle that Dean's talking about, that determination and that work ethic and that grit, and apply it there. And what may take you 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get a deal may only take 3 to 6 weeks, because you've taken your time and you've compressed it because you're talking to so many more people, right? So do whatever you need to do. Go sell some of the stuff that's in your garage. Go, you know what I mean? Like, cut down on your bills. I mean, I'm sure everybody can find $300 a month in their budget right now for people that have not been in real estate if they got really serious about where they were spending that money. That money is there. It's just being spent in places that it probably shouldn't be.
What do you guys think about this comment? This one's interesting. I feel like we should talk about squat up on your expenses. What are your guys' thoughts
done it with Jason.
on doing that? Yeah.
Me and Jason
I don't think it's a bad way.
Bro, we've bought a lot of data.
Yeah, we bought data together. Here's the benefit. Here's why I like that. I think not only does it help lower your cost of entry, right? But it creates an accountability group for you too. Because if you have another person, calling is, most people severely overestimate how much effort they're putting into cold calling, right? Like for us, like we'll talk to people and they're like, well, I called for an hour today, or I called for a couple hours this week or whatever, right? And they don't really realize the amount of output that's there. But if you have another person where you're sharing this cost, and you guys look to your right or your left and you see that person, you say, hey, we're going to make a commitment that if we're going to spend this money, you're going to dial from this time to this time. I'm going to dial from this time to this time. And you really hold yourselves accountable to that. I actually think that could be a way to not only save expenses, but to get you to where you want to go a lot faster. So I can't see who made that comment, but that was a really good one. I agree. I like the idea of squatting up and sharing some of those expenses.
Even now, I squat up in another one of our companies that we have. We're buying 100,000 records a month. And I hit up one of my friends. I was like, bro, you have any data you want to throw in this to like lower my cost on it?
Yeah.
And then even if you're in the same market as that person, it doesn't matter, because the entire world is calling that market. If you guys split the cost anyways, I'm calling that list. Jason's calling that list. Michael Butler's calling that list. Armando's calling that list. Everyone in your market's already calling the list. If you're pulling like a high equity, anything that you can get your hands on, we're probably already calling it. Or your competitors are probably already calling it. So you might as well just split the cost, short the data provider, and then get the savings.
Yeah.
What else? Bro, we need to probably do a sales meetup. I was thinking about this. So like how to actually talk to sellers. Because Jason, you buy houses deeper than I know. And then me and Dean are okay. But Jason, you buy them deep. Right. And so all these people don't know what to say to a seller when they get into that situation, which I think would help out our community a lot.
I'm down.
Like, hey,
I'm down.
We're going to do
one of
this,
my favorite
and
things.
this is how you're going to talk to these sellers.
There you go.
We got a dude from Philly in here. Oh, sorry, Dino.
Dewan.
Okay.
Dewan. Bro, hell yeah. We got a dude from Philly. Someone said direct to agent. Oh, sorry, Dino. I'll give you
okay. We're pressing the same buttons.
Shout out Dean for helping me dispo my very first deal almost 2 years ago.
There you
go.
Yeah.
I think that was Eduardo. That was a deal that literally only one buyer was interested in. And I remember exactly the deal. It was a unique, very interesting buyer that through our conversation, I think ultimately got them to buy the deal. And they were the perfect buyer for it because it had squatters, and they it was a woman. She rolled up into the property and was like, yo, mofos, this is my house, get out. And they did. She was pretty badass. And we ended
What's
up
her number? I have a few houses she needs to come help me out with. We've got a few of those right now.
Scare them off. We ended up making $40,000 on that deal.
Good for you
Split
guys.
it
That's
2020, man. First deal. That's pretty awesome.
Ian Horowitz, when we doing a pod, boys? Let's fucking go.
Got to do it soon, man. Ian's
he can do one of his storage deals, dude. That would be good.
Right.
We got to get Ian on for a long interview, dude. He's got too good of a story.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we really do.
So what do you think, Strat? Here's a question for you, going back to the topic of cold calling. What do you think about the call center approach? Let's say you've got your cold calling up and running. You've knocked a few deals out, right? And you're just hustling and you're just doing this on your own. And now you're ready to outsource the cold calling, right? The initial lead gen to somebody else. Let's talk about the pros and cons of hiring a cold calling company to provide a VA versus hiring a VA, right? And training them yourself and having all the internal controls over them. What do you think?
I've got a pulpit I'm going to stand on, and it doesn't make me a lot of money.
Hear it. I'm sure you have an opinion about this. So yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So if you're new, you should never go to a call center, ever. Like, not once should you ever go to a call center because you need to develop the skills. I think you should be developing these skills for a long time, and you should still be cold calling yourself up until you have several different callers, because these people max will be 80% as good as you. Max. I don't care what anybody says. Like, everybody can sell their ass off. That is the cold, hard reality, right? And so if you stop cold calling and you hire on one cold caller yourself, you just lost 20% of your output, right? And so if you are going to go to a company, you need to go to a company prepared to spend 6 months with them. You need to have it like 6 months of runway. And I was just talking to one of the biggest data providers in the country in the real estate space. He's like, bro, if someone new comes to you, tell them they need to spend money for 6 months to a year before they're going to make any money. It doesn't matter what the marketing channel is.
That's fair.
Because that's just the cold, hard truth. Like Tiffany,
and I think that's true of anything. Yeah. I think that's true of mail. I think that's true of other marketing channels as well. So yeah, that makes sense.
But you should use them when you're out of time. When there's ever younger people who come to me and like, well, I hate cold calling, I want to outsource it. I think one of the best things you can get, and one thing me and Dean really lucked out with, is we're able to lead teams our entire life, know how people worked and everything else. If you're just getting into real estate and you're actually going to like scale this thing, you need to learn how to lead teams. The easiest and most cost-effective way to do that is with your cold callers at the beginning. You got a VA, you got your cold callers. You can learn how to motivate them, what makes them tick, and everything else. And it's not going to cost you a whole lot of money. And then when you are absolutely tapped on time, then we are going to go outsource, right? So we're tapped on time and we have the runway, because you can't be tapped on time and not have the runway, because then you're just going to spend money and then you're going to stop, right? So if we are going to do this, we need to have a certain amount, at least 3 months of like spend that we can spend consistently. Because again, bro, this is a 6-month game. Everybody's going to tell you what happens really, really fast. Maybe pre-foreclosures happen fast, but most of these cold call leads are going to last you a really, really long time. If you are new, you need to cold call on your own, continue cold calling. If you want to go through another company, sure. But then they should be handling all the training, everything else like we do. Like we handle everything. And then you focus on the main thing, right? But if you're not going to do it that way and you take everything in-house, awesome. Don't ever outsource until you're completely tapped for time and you have runway. Because then a lot of people try and like pretend business, right? Well, like I got all these deals coming in, bro. Real estate is like this. Like there's tons of deals closing 1 month, no deals closing the next month. And so you come and then you aren't prepared to continue stroking that nut essentially in month 4. And you're like, oh, well, we don't have anything closing, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, I mean, it'll close like within the next 2 months, or maybe one got held up in title issues. And so that's why it's really important to have that runway going. And people want to hop off the phone early. Bro, I say, bro, stay on the phone as long as you can, because you're a killer. And you're going to convert those things really well. And then let's say you get 2 deals knocked up, you put 60 grand in the bank, then you have some money to work with and some runway. So there's ebbs and flows to it.
Yeah, I think for me, the pros and cons, the easiest way to explain it for people that are trying to decide between the two is how much is your time worth? Because if you bring the VA in-house, right, you may be able to save some money, but you're going to be investing a lot more of your time. You're going to be investing your time into training. You're going to be investing your time in accountability. You're going to be investing your time into potentially filling that role again if you turn it over, right? So you have in like an actual employee. And I think a big mistake that new investors make when they're hiring virtual team members is they look at it as kind of like this hands-off thing, right? They go, they hire them, and they think it's just plug and play. And then the leads just start coming in and they don't have to train them or hold them accountable or mentor them or coach them or guide them, right? And then they wonder why in 6 weeks they're just, having to find somebody else.
Leads.
There isn't,
Where's
right?
the leads?
And so on one hand, you can save some money, but you're going to be investing more time. And on the other hand, you're probably going to be investing more money. But a lot of these things that we're talking about, and this is the benefit of, I like working with you guys, Strat, is that if we lose a caller, right, I don't have to go hire somebody else. You guys just plug one in. You're holding them accountable. You're training them. And then they're feeding leads directly to my team members. But my team has been coached by me, and I've got a lot of reps in converting those leads. So when a lead comes in, and we don't close the first one, I don't freak out and say, oh my God, like these leads are all shit. Like what's going on, Stratton? Your service sucks. We know that eventually we're going to hit on something too. So I think you've got to figure out what's going to be the right balance for you, because there's a couple different ways that you can go with it. And a lot of it's going to depend on your situation and your experience level.
I think regardless if you hire someone, you need to have runway. And people who hire on these virtual team members, you have to understand, let's say you're hiring on someone who has 2 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
Now you are essentially feeding 4 people a day. So like, don't take that on lightly, right? If you're just going to bring them on, not set them up for success, and then you just fuck them over, or you're just like, don't pay them. You'd be amazed at how many people don't get paid. All that other stuff, bro, we need to have just money in the bank, essentially. I don't want to keep saying runway, to keep that thing going on top of us calling ourselves.
Yep.
What about you, Dino?
Here's a little link for people. Guys, if your comments aren't showing up, which not all of them are, you guys got to go to this this link right here, streamyard.com/Facebook. Then it allows us to see your comments. So if you guys do that, that'd be awesome.
Who else we got in here? Facebook ads versus cold calling marketing. I'll stand on another pulpit. I have not seen a single person be successful in the Fresno, California market with Facebook ads. Maybe you, Dino, but
I've had some decent success. I won't say I've made so much money, but I've made a positive ROI. It's
a different type of lead.
It's a different.
You got to work
lead.
it differently.
You got to have, if you're not the one running it, which we've only used agencies to do it for us, they got to be really good, because Facebook's always changing. You got to have your avatar that you're going after really dialed in, because otherwise, if you just go to some average person or you try to do it yourself, I'm going to warn you right now, you're going to get so many people that are just clicking on it because they think they're going to get some magic value for their house. And then they're like upset the fact you're even calling them, or they want to rent a house, right? Same thing. Like if you post something on Craigslist or a bandit sign, like, hey, I'm looking to rent a house. It says I will buy your house. What are you doing clicking on this link if you want to rent a house? So you'll get a lot of that. I've probably used 5 different agencies over the years for Facebook ads, and only one of them I had success with. The other 4 flat out like failures. One of them, which I just fired, we got no deals from until we ended up stopping the service with them. And then we ended up getting a $40,000 deal that more than paid for the $10,000 that we had spent on marketing. So yeah, it's one of those things where you've got to have it dialed in. Otherwise, like, you're going to spend a lot of money. I remember the very first Facebook company I'd used, I'd spent $20,000 before I closed my first deal, and I made $25,000 on it, on an assignment fee. So It was like, okay, I didn't make any money because I had to pay my acquisition manager, commission, and it was just, a net wash. So yeah.
I went through 4 different ones of dudes pretty much talking themselves up, spent a lot of money. I mean, thousands.
The Facebook ad people will definitely,
and they will talk themselves up like, bro, we got you. Everybody's like, bro, I'm seeing your ads. Like, bro, I don't want my fucking investor friends to see my ads. Like, that's not the avatar I want to see my ads. I want like actual people to see our ads. And we got the same thing as far as, hey, I'm looking to rent a house. Like, just random ads, and then it's not.
Dude, let's talk about the Facebook trolls on your ads.
Bro.
Yeah, I've seen some where people are getting absolutely thrashed. Yeah,
dude.
You want to talk about getting in the ring, man? Dude, you're getting in the ring with those ads.
The Facebook trolls are ruthless. There's no harsher place on planet Earth than throwing out something about an ad or something personal that people don't agree with. Like, the Facebook trolls are harsh.
Yeah, I'd say definitely start cold calling if you're picking between those two. A lot of
unless you're a marketer,
starting with cold calling. Yeah,
if you're an actual marketer, cool. And like, there are some dudes who get into this and like they think they have the chops, but everything that we do in real estate is reverse selling.
Yeah,
like, it's not like, it's just a different type of traffic that you need to run, different type of copy you need to run. If you're just getting started, do not hop into it, because, bro, that's a completely different skill set you got to learn. As far as, bro, you need to write copy that actually converts.
Here's my personal opinion.
Converts.
Facebook ads and PPC being more effective, in my opinion. I've made good money with PPC. there's not too many secrets. Like if you go look at other people's ads, they more or less say the same thing. On the back end, when they're placing the ads and they're putting in their keywords and they're putting in their negative keywords and they're putting in the geographical locations, there's really not too many secrets. I mean, I've spoken to enough people who run these companies for both PPC and Facebook and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point. And each time I talk to them, I don't hear anything uniquely different.
Yeah.
And I have them show me, and they run it in my own, ad accounts. So I can see what's going on behind,
Give them that tip though. If you ever
here's the tip.
Paying someone to run your ads, they have to run it in your account or else they'll hold the hostage.
They got to run it. Yes, exactly. Now, my personal opinion, because Facebook ads and PPC, if you're doing it yourself, running it in your own ad accounts, and you're not using like a pay per lead company, I honestly think that if you are a marketer, which is where you were going, got me excited about this idea. If you're a marketer, you're honestly maybe better off just doing Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube reels and shorts with a badass hook and call to action. Like, you might actually get more traction doing stuff on your own social media platform over time than spending a bunch of time trying to figure out those ads, because you're swimming in a big pond. Now you might be in a different market where you're not, and you could be, the big fish. But if you're in a competitive market, like, there's people spending tens of thousands of dollars every month. And if you think you're going to be more creative than those people spending that much money and have all that
with
data,
that retainer on top of that,
yeah,
professionals.
I don't know if you're going to be that much better. I mean, there could be someone out there, but the average person, no. So that's my opinion. If you are a good marketer, you might actually be better off just doing your own free marketing on social media platforms to get attention.
Shit, bro. If you're a good marketer, market something else, save up the money, build a business, and keep buying.
They should be doing that anyways. I think that's kind of been our message since we've all connected, right? It's like that needs to happen regardless of whatever you're doing, because that's the thing that gets you kind of this infinite ROI. That think about it, like all these seeds that we've been planting because we've been doing what you just said right now, Dean. That's the stuff that's giving us a lot of our ROI now, the stuff we started doing 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? So regardless of whatever you do, I think you've got to do that type of stuff, man. So
what other cold call stuff we got?
I think we hit it all.
Yeah,
I think we hit it all.
I got one more story that should be motivational for the people.
Let's hear it.
And
hit it with them.
This goes into it. So I'm driving home from a storage facility that we are buying right now in Carlin, Nevada. And so I'm stopping in every single little town off of I-80, and I drive around the entire town and I look for the facilities. And I put all their addresses in radar. And so I see this one. I see one that's completely abandoned. I see another one that I pull up that's like 20 miles further down the road. I get home. I call the abandoned guy. He doesn't pick up. I call the other facility in the area. He picks up, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this abandoned one. He's like, you have his number? He was like, yeah, here's his number. Let's see if he wants to sell. I get his number. I call him. He doesn't want to sell. Right. But then I have a bunch more on my list. I call another facility. I call him up. I'm like, hey, man, you interested in selling those units? And he was like, no, I don't want to sell the units. I want to sell the whole thing. I was like, okay, like, what's the whole thing? It's a 33-unit trailer park, 50 storage units, an 18-unit motel, 7 rentals, a laundromat, a bar, and a convenience store.
Does he own the whole city? What does he got over there?
Bro, it's like 5 acres of just like big stuff. And this all came from a cold call. And me and Kyle already got a verbal confirmation on it. I got to go drive down there when I close on our other facility. Bro, all from a cold call. And that one will be a home run deal for us. So just cold call. I'm telling you, right, driving for dollars. And if you actually call them, that's the other thing people do is they drive around, but then they never hop on the phone.
They never call.
But you got to put the work in. There's the reps, dude. You got to get those reps in then.
Yeah, they
did you see the last question that popped in? That's the. I was waiting for somebody to ask this question, Stratton. What is what's your opinion on that?
Scrub it against the litigators list, and then whoever that fuck is who's suing that fuck out of Stockton. I don't care. Whatever his name is.
Don't
those
say
people.
It. We're gonna edit this out of the podcast.
Right?
Yeah.
scrub against litigators. Some people may slip through. If you're just getting started, bro, you ain't got shit to lose anyways. You might as well just take the risk. But scrub against litigators. If you scrub against the FDNC, I got to be real with you, you're not going to have any real data left. And we've had to go to court several times, and we will scrub this out of here. We have never lost because we are not selling them anything.
It's
And
a gray area, and you need to
very
operate. Yes, understand that you're operating with a high risk level there, and so you need to understand what your risk tolerance is, because there's pros and cons. If you do filter against the DNC, your list is going to go like this, right? And so then you're going to be spending a lot of money for data, and you're always going to end up kind of playing from behind. So, yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, and it's the cost of doing business, honestly. Yep. If you do get dinged with it, and just if you have an attorney, pay the attorney to handle some stuff. But yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, perfect time to transition. Today, we got another deal submission for the Deal Champs podcast. And this is someone in Central California. We're going to bring him on right now. You ready? Let's go. What's up, Ephraim?
What's going on, everyone?
What's up, brother?
Good. Glad to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining
us.
You
may need to
you probably got to turn down your volume or something.
Yeah, we're getting some feedback from you.
Got it.
How's that? Let's see.
Okay.
Test.
All
right. That sounds fine. Yeah. All right, cool. So, man, let's bring up your deal here. Let's talk about this deal. We got a deal here. It was a wholesale. Came from Driving for Dollars, located in Sanger, California. The deal breakdown was you bought it for $65,000. Let me make this bigger for myself. Sales price, $190,000. That's a massive gap. Profit, $107,000. You guys can't see the check right here, but it's got $107,000 and some change on it. Dude, that's a monster deal. Tell us about this story, man.
It was a long 9 months. It just taking imperfect action. That's all it really was. It's just I never thought about quitting. It just going after this lead. I actually got it from pulling a list. It was vacant. The house has been vacant for over 10 years. And I was driving for dollars and I seen it, but there was actually neighbors that are actually parked on their driveway. So so it looked like the house was actually occupied. So I drove again and the house was boarded. So I just got off my car. I was able to talk to the neighbors, and you'd be surprised, when you talk to the neighbors, they know what's going on in the whole neighborhood. I mean, they know this, that, the other. Hey, so I was able to get more information and about that property, and they were just saying it's been vacant for years, and I was trying to skip trace this the seller, but I couldn't find the number. So I tried all these websites, everything. I guess the seller was out of state. He was out in North Dakota. So at that time, so I was able to the neighbor, I was able to have a conversation with her, and she was able to tell me, well, I actually have his number right here. He told me if he needs anything, to give him a call. And she offered it to me. Would you like his cell phone? I was like, yeah. So I was able to get the number from the neighbor, and then therefore I was able to call. After that, I just kept calling, no answer. And she would tell me, yeah, he wants to sell it. The other neighbor says, yeah, he wants to sell the house. So I just kept calling, no answer. And at that point, I was frustrated, like everyone else, but I just never thought about quitting. Just keep it going. Just keep trying to get in front of the seller. And finally, one day he picked up my phone. I was eating lunch at a burger spot, and he finally picked up, and I was ecstatic that he answered the phone. And I was a bit nervous. I stuttered because I was trying to get a hold of this seller. And finally he said, you know what? I'm actually I'll sell you the house. I'll be in the States in 2 months. Follow up with me in 2 months from now. I'm coming in from North Dakota. And I was waiting. I put it on my calendar. He's coming in. Okay, he said he was going to be here, and didn't show up. So frustrated again. So I went back, called, what's going on? He goes, hey, I got snowed in. I won't be there till next week. Okay. So went back next week. Again, didn't show up. Oh man, I was just frustrated at this point. I was like, is he being serious? What's going on? We were in agreement, verbal agreement. He wanted to sell me the property. He wanted, he was done with it, right? So finally, the next week, he goes, you know what? I'll meet you at the property, 12 o'clock. So, okay. And I just kept doing the work, no matter what. Just kept doing the work. Like Jason said, just keep the reps. I just want to take the rep, be in front of sellers, right? And just by showing up, he shows up and he goes, here I am. Let's go ahead. And we drew up the contract for $65,000. Wanted to close in 7 days. Cash deal, done. And that's how I was able to secure that deal. So,
how did you guys determine the price on that one? I mean, that is clearly a smoking deal. How did you guys come up with the price? Did you tell him the number? Did he throw out a number? How did that all go down?
No, I never gave him a number. So if I would have given a number, I probably would have given a higher number. So I just said, hey, Mr. Seller, what would you sell the property for? And due to the fire damage, he said, well, he goes, I'm going to sell it to you for $65,000. And he says, the reason why, that's how much I bought it for back in 1987. So therefore, that's how much I want to sell it to you for, even though it has damages, So I said, okay. So I just accepted his the offer that he gave me. So he actually came up with the price. I just let him speak. So that's how I was able to get the deal.
So he just came right out with it. You didn't even ask him, hey, what are you thinking? What price do you need? He just like right out said, hey, I want 65. And you were just like, okay.
Well, I did ask him, like, hey, what are you thinking? That's when he told me I want 65,000. And then we went from there.
Nice. Now, if you guys didn't hear this, this is arguably one of the juiciest nuggets and pro tips you can get is from this story right here. If you're driving for dollars and you see a property, number one, yes, you should try to cold call. You should try to make contact directly with them, right? You don't necessarily want to let everyone know your business and you want to try to contact the seller. If you just flat out can't, got to knock the neighbor's door. There's always a nosy neighbor that at least knows some of the story or can give you some more information. In this case, the seller actually had their phone number, the one thing you couldn't get. And it was just right there at the neighbor's house, right? Like, guys, some of the information that you guys need to get this $107,000 profit deal is at the neighbor's house. And the house.
Think about the logic too, guys. Like if that house has been sitting there and it's sustained fire damage and it's this humongous eyesore for every single neighbor, all the neighbors in that neighborhood want that fucking house sold. You know what I mean? Like every single one. So I think that is such a huge tip. I've gotten so much traction trying to find sellers just by going around and being friendly, guys. And I think a lot of times people overthink it. It's like, I don't know what to say and I'm nervous. What do I tell them? And just be honest and upfront with them. Just walk up to the neighbor, introduce yourself, smile, shake their hand and say, hey, my name's Jason. I'm a real estate investor. I actually specialize in buying houses like this one that's burned down next door. Do you happen to know the neighbor's name and number? And is he interested in? And that's it. Shut up and see what they have to say, guys. And you'll be amazed how far you get.
Bro, one thing that, and I called Dean on that one deal we got a confirmation on those storage units. It is sometimes iffy giving someone what they want. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, Jason, because like if you give them what they want, then they get seller's remorse. And they're like, oh, man, I could have got more out of it. So I'd love to hear your opinion on this, Jason.
It's tough, man, because there is a psychology to it. It's like, okay, I'll give this, you know what I mean? And I think it kind of goes both ways. I'm of the opinion that in this situation, I think Ephraim did the right thing, right? I always think when we're in a negotiation and we're working with sellers, obviously we want the sellers to give us their number first, right? So I think you handled that the right way. And you said, hey, just based off of the condition, it's been sitting here for a while. It's got some fire damage. Did you have a price in mind? What were you thinking? You know what I mean? What were you thinking about selling it for just as is if I were to buy it exactly as it sits right now, right? And I think if he hits you with that number, I feel like I believe in karma and I feel like that's a real thing, right? And if I'm happy with 65 on that deal, I'm not going to feel great about going and looking myself in the mirror later on down the road and saying, you know what? I like 65, but I really like it better at 55. Do you think you've got any room to come down? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather go with that approach where I want to just give the seller what they want. I'm happy with the number. And I think, I'd sleep better at night right there. I don't know. What do you think?
Here's my take is if it's a great deal, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm not going to go in there, stick a dagger, and try to like get a lower price. But with the psychology game and wanting to make sure that that seller doesn't get cold feet and feel like they could have got more, I'm going to give an emotional reaction, right? I'm going to be like, oh man, 65. Okay. I mean, it needs a lot of work. It's pretty close to the number. Like if I know I want to do it at that number, it's like, it's pretty close to the number I was thinking. So and I'm going to go for a soft close. I'm not committing, but I'm going in to say, yes, if this works, we got a deal kind of, right? A soft close of, so you're telling me if we can do 65, you're good to move forward and we can do this deal, right? Okay. And maybe I say, hey, can I call my partner real quick? It'll take me 2 minutes. I'm going to step over here. If I can get him to agree to 65, we've got a deal, right? And I might say it a couple times to really sink in, to make him feel like, oh, 65? Yeah. Can we sign right now? Like, I don't want them to feel like, oh, wait a second. That was too easy.
Delivery. Yes. The delivery of that message is very important, and it's crucial. And the way that you deliver it is good. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement.
I go for that soft close. I want them to feel like I'm on the edge of my seat. I feel like it's reasonable, but you're saying if we can do that, we got a deal. Let me confirm we can make that happen.
Well, and you don't want to negotiate yourself out of a deal, right, bro? If it's a deal, it's a deal.
Yeah,
don't try and go in there. You're trying to go in there and get them, and then, bro, you just blew up the deal for no reason.
And like here's the other thing that I'd highlight about this deal for Ephraim is that like he did all the things that we tell everybody to do, but 99% of people don't do, right? All the follow-up, being persistent, calling. Like, I'm sure you probably wanted to give up on that thing so many damn times, dude. I don't even know. You know what I mean?
9 months. 9 months.
Dude, it's just calling and no-shows and calling and this, dude. And that's what it takes, dude. And it's like these deals are the ones where you really, they make or break you. You know what I mean? And now you know what it takes to do a 6-figure deal like that, right? And so it's like, you know that sometimes I'm just going to have to call for 9 months, and that's what it is, dude. Plenty of us have had deals that we've worked for a year plus or longer.
He almost got paid $12,000 a month for making those phone calls.
There you go. Yeah.
Dude, so what a monster deal, man. I mean, in our company, if you close a 6-figure deal, you're in the whale club, man. So you're an honorary whale club member, because that's a monster deal. That's some life-changing money, man. That moves the needle.
Ephraim, I remember you called me as you were getting close to putting this one done. So I remember this one, and it wasn't like the negotiation of the deal was just the first part, right? Because you didn't assign this one, right? Like you had to raise money, you closed on it, right? And then I thought you listed it, right? So talk to us about that, because a lot of those things were new for you too, because you were trying to figure out like, damn, I've been working this deal for so long. How do I actually extract the maximum amount of value, right? Because I think you could have assigned it and probably made less than what you made by closing on it and sticking it on the market, but it still would have been a lot of money, I would imagine, for you at that point, right? You could have assigned it and made probably $40,000-$50,000, right? But you raised the money, closed it. So talk to us about how you structured all of that and how that worked out.
Yeah. So I just raised private money. So after, building relationships, going to these events, right, and after building my buyers list organically, I was able to get one of my guys to actually offer to. I actually asked him if can private. I got this deal. The only thing is we just need the cash, and we saw the spread, and it was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I was able to raise capital, and I think I had a phone call with you, Jason, about hey, I just got this deal. What's the best route? Assigning it, we can't really assign it for that high of a price, or close on it and then stick it back on the market. So at that point, I think you had a similar deal in Visalia, and you said, hey, I have a similar fire damage house. I'm going to just stick it back on the market. So that's what I pretty much did the same thing. I put like probably 3,000 into it, cleaned it up. It needed yard work. I had to take 2 dumpsters, take all the stuff out. And then I had a realtor that was, that offered to list it for me. And I go, well, let's put it on the market. Let's see what we can do. And at that point, I think that's when the market was, was hot. That's when the interest rates were lower. So we were getting offers left and right. Investors were calling, buyers were calling, and we were getting over 30 offers on it. once we had it on the market. And I think the strongest offer was closed in 7 days, and I think the price was 190,000, closed in 7 days with the 10,000 EMD. So we went with that route, and that was the strongest offer. We were able to close it out. Yeah.
So that was an investor that bought that at 190.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a fat deal.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was retail for a second, but I missed the part of the story that it was fire damage. Like to sell it on the market, 7-day close. You had your realtor fees, but that was well worth the fees. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because we've had 6 or 7 deals like that. And for whatever reason, Dean, I don't think we get the exposure to, there's a subset of buyers out here that I think specialize in these fire damage properties that for one reason or another, they're not on our buyers list. They're not coming to our meetups. We're not getting exposure to them through our networks. But every deal that I've ever done, like the ones that Ephraim's had, I've been blown away by the prices that we get for them. And it's just like, it's like unbelievable what they're willing to pay. So yeah, I think there's something to be said. That's another strength, man. Because all you could have done is assigned it, you probably make significantly less money. So being able to pivot, raise the money, do all of that, it really forced you to get out of your comfort zone, man. And you got rewarded for it, dude. So I love it.
A big
and everyone was happy in that transaction. I mean, the seller was happy, the buyer was happy, everyone's happy. So it was a win-win situation for everybody. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, what a killer deal. You've definitely taken the cake on biggest profit so far on the podcast. That's a juicy deal. Again, you're an honorary Whale Club member, so that's pretty incredible. Man, so what'd you do with the money, man? Did you blow it all? Did you reinvest it? What'd you do?
Reinvested, of course. Reinvested back. At that point, I was able, go to the next step to now let's scale it, right? So now, just because I was already kind of well versed in cold calling, so now I was ready to call a cold caller, buy more data, and partner up too, spot up with other guys that are doing the business, so that's what I did, and now the goal is just to kind of move forward, and make more deals and also buy and hold too. That's another thing too for this year. I challenged myself to buy and hold more properties as well. So. Yeah.
Awesome, man. What a great story to share with everybody. I'm sure everybody listening can see why, like, there's deals that are worth doing if you just put a little more effort. Like, you could have just driven by the house, tried to make contact. You tried for a couple months. I can't get a hold of them. But dude, you put in 9 months worth of work trying to make calls. You got a hold of them finally by contacting the neighbor. I mean, just going a couple more steps further got you an incredible deal. So I think everybody's got to pay attention and notice that, like, most of these deals get done because you put in a little bit of extra effort. You'll get some low-hanging fruit. There's some deals that we closed that were just like too easy. And it was like, really? That's all? The deal just happened like that? Where's the problems? But most deals require you going the extra mile and getting deals.
That's right. I guarantee you this deal is probably in our pipeline at some point, dude. I bet you this lead either came across our desk or somebody sent it to us, and we're either quick pass or we tried and we didn't follow up and we didn't stick with it for 9 months, man. And you're the one that got the reward for it, brother. You deserve it, dude. That's a lot of hard work for that thing, man. So
thank you.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. There's going to be, right? We talked about cold calling at the beginning of this episode, talking about that we're all calling the same list. That's okay. It's all about timing. Real estate is a timing game. I might have contacted them 200 times and they said no every time, but the one time Ephraim calls, they say yes. Like, it is all about timing. That absentee list that have owned their property for more than 20 years, you don't think they've been called thousands of times? Of course they have. It's all about the timing, right? And how your message comes across, how you communicate with them when you finally do make contact and when they're ready. So hats off to you, man. Put in the work. Holding a big fat check right here.
Hell yeah.
Looking like a boss with all your swag on. I love it, man. Looking good.
That's going to be
So,
good. We're going to have to. We'll see if somebody can come in and beat that deal. We've got to get somebody to sim 107. That's going to be a hard number to beat on one of these for one of these other future deal champs. Bro, that's good.
That one's a whale.
Yeah,
the
that's a
six-figure
whale.
deal is a whale.
The Whale Club. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you submitting your deal.
Thanks, brother.
For anybody
Thanks for having
watching this, guys, if you want to submit your deal, we're going to drop it in the comments. So that way you could submit your deal. You could be highlighted on the Deal Champs podcast, just like Ephraim today. And then if you're looking to stay connected with us, subscribe to us on YouTube. We'll drop that in the chat as well so we can stay connected with you guys. Anything else before we leave?
Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review if you're on a podcast. If you need help with cold calling, shameless plug, go to callmagicians.com.
If we can provide value, if you've got a network in your community and we can provide value to your guys' network, we'd love to come out, talk to your group, spread the word, man. So reach out to any one of us. We definitely want to make this year the year of us going out and really collaborating with as many people in person as we can, man. So yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. Sounds good. Ephraim, thanks for joining us today. And guys, catch you next time. Peace.
Thanks, guys.